Hey everybody, my name is Laurie Meyer and I have a blog at stampedgreetings.com, as you can see. And the reason for this hopefully quick video is I wanted to catch up with a couple people that I wasn't able to connect with last week to show how to do some fun ink blending backgrounds. And these are some examples. I'm going to be doing a quick demonstration on how to do a background with a circle to get this really pretty effect, and then we'll be stamping on the foreground. And you can do a lot of different things with this technique. This is another one with a circle, and I've added a sentiment here at the bottom that is lifted up with some dimensionals, and as you can see, two different stamps were used for the foreground. And last but not least, using the same stamp that I used on the first example, but this has a really nice label shape in terms of what the background looks like. So I'm not going to look at any more examples. I want to show you exactly how to do this. And I am starting with a piece of white cardstock. This is cut to 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches long. That is going to give me enough room to put a nice border around my finished card front if I want to, before I put it onto a piece of cardstock as the card base. And white tends to be, at least for me, a pretty forgiving color. You can use any color for this, but I like white. It's just easy to use. What you're going to want to do is grab a punch or some dies or anything that you have that can cut a shape. I'll show you a couple other shapes when I'm done with this example. Obviously here I'm using a circle. And I'm also using the thinnest paper I can possibly find. This is copy paper. And the reason I want it to be thin is I am going to be blending ink over the edges. And the thinner this paper is, the less likely that I'm going to get any kind of bleed on the edges. And I'm also going to have a really clean line when I'm done with the blending. Hey Denise, hey Nathan. You guys are watching my first ever live, so please be patient. I'll pretend I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to catch up with some friends of mine that I wasn't able to connect with last week. What I'm going to do is hold up that piece of back paper in front of the circle just to get it sort of in the middle of my card, and then I'm going to grab some washi tape. I have this connected to a lamp in the background that you can't see. I know it's a really high-tech way of keeping my tape in a place where I can find it pretty easily. But all I'm going to do is tape the front down. And Nathan, hey, please tell everybody at the beach that I said hey. I hope you guys are playing a lot of 42. And I hope that it's not way too hot. It's actually pretty warm here. And Denise, I miss you guys at work. I hope everything's going all right. I know it's a crazy time. I know there are a lot of people who are working from home and doing the best they can, and that's really what we can do. So the reason I wanted to catch up is I've got a group of friends who do a lot of stamping, and we have challenges. And what we do is we make cards based on the challenges, and then I actually draw a winner, and we've got prizes going. And this is the challenge that we're doing right now. So you're going to need, for those of you who are going to be involved in the challenge, Nathan, Denise, if you want to play, please do. But grab your favorite blending brush. I'm sure you have many. And you're just going to get a little bit of ink onto that blending brush. And what I like to do is I like to actually ink off the brush just a little bit with my color, and then I'm going to blend it in. And these are makeup brushes. I know, dual purpose, but that's all right. And all I'm doing here is I'm actually putting some color on. And Nathan, I'm giving away what I did to make your graduation card that you will see when you get back to Louisville. So there won't be any mystery that will be left when you actually see it in person. I'm not going to show it on camera. I'm going to have a surprise for you when you actually get home. But what you're going to do is you're going to take a I tend to put the darker color on the top. And what is obvious about ink is you can add color, but you cannot take color off. So I am just doing this pretty lightly. And the more that I put on, obviously the more saturated that color is going to be. I'm also going in different circles, clockwise, counterclockwise, really trying to get into those edges to make sure that I can get as much ink as possible right around the edge, because that's really what I want to do. If you look at these finished cards, you want to have a really defined edge before you put the final stamping on. And this is a pretty quick technique. It really doesn't take a lot of time, and it's really fun. And it's called ink blending because we're going to use two different ink colors to get a fun combination of the colors in the middle. And we all know from our days at school in science class in the good old Roy G. Biv that if you take red, I know this isn't quite red, and yellow, and you mix them together, you get an orange-ish color. And that's what I'm going for. I'm really trying to get a little bit of orange in the middle. And this is going to take just a second to start see that happen. And I know you guys especially are just going to want to run out to your favorite big box store that sells craft stuff and go crazy doing this. And you can see that where the yellow and the pink are meeting, we're starting to get a little bit of an orangish color, and I'm just kind of blending those together. I'm not going to overwork this because the more you overwork it, the more you tend to saturate the paper. That's not what I'm going for. So I'm just going to come back and I'm going to put a little bit of red in the middle. I definitely got a little bit too much red in the top, but I will fix that with the stamp that I am going to put on in just a minute. And for the folks who will be watching this who are in the challenge, you can use any shape, any colors, any stamps, anything that you want. We're really just going for this technique, and I'm going to show you a couple of other cards that I've done with this that are a little bit more elaborate. And what's kind of fun with this too is you can peek. So I'm going to take a look and see what I think. And you know what? I'm happy with that. So I'm good with how that looks. I've got my background done. And then what I'm going to do is get my stamp positioning tool, which I've already got set up off camera. I'm going to bring that in. And you will notice that it is the same stamp that I used on this card and also on this card. And what I'm going to do is put the piece of paper that I have put my color on into my stamp positioning tool, which is the best invention ever for folks who like to make cards. Because what this does is it allows you to ink up your stamp, which is a little bit off camera. And then it's like a lid. You take that stamped image and you put it right over where you want it to be inked on the paper. And if you don't get enough ink on it the first time, there's no problem because you can take it up, re-ink, and then you can stamp it again. And that's how we're going to add the silhouette in the front. So I'm just adding some black ink to this stamp, and I'm going to close the lid, give it a little bit of a push, and there I have my inked image. And sort of foreground background going on. It looks like it is a silhouette that is showing in the front. And I'm just going to darken that inked image up a little bit. I put a little bit more ink on that image, closed up the lid, and now it's a little bit darker. So there we go. That is how you make an ink blended background, and then you add a stamp on the front, and it gives you the illusion of depth. It's really kind of fun. There are many different ways to finish off a card like this. You can put a sentiment, you can pop that sentiment up onto some dimensionals and give it a little bit of height when you're doing your final touches, or you can also just stamp directly onto the card. And you can see that this card looks similar to what I just did. So I just finished off this card by putting a sentiment directly onto the paper. I didn't bump that up at all. And for the folks who are going to be participating in the challenge that we have going on, that's the technique. That is what you need to concentrate on. If you want to bump it up a little bit, let me show you a card that we also did over the weekend. And this is one that has some ink blending in the background. The exact same technique was shown. I showed people how to make it. It's exactly the same as what I just showed here. The only difference is for the sides, I used pieces of copy paper. And all I did was tack them down so that the copy paper was aligned on the side and on the side. That was my, in place of a circle, I just had lines that were going straight down the page. And then I did my ink blending. I used 2 stamps rather than 1 to give a nice little highlight on the top of the card. Added some bling, added a sentiment that I popped up. So this is another way to kind of lift up the ink background. And I've also put some embossed images on the top. So again, this has a lot of dimension. But it's essentially the same technique as you see over here. So that's it, folks. I really appreciate you guys stopping in. Jenny, hey, it's great to see you. And thank you so much for coming in. This is the first Facebook Live I've really ever done. And I wanted to do it so that I could show some folks who weren't able to join me in a Zoom meeting last week the technique that we're actually using in our stamp club right now. And if you guys want to learn more, I would love to show you some more of what we're doing. But I'm going to sign off for now. Denise, please tell everybody hey from me at work. I miss you guys a ton. I know it's coming up on the end of the year, even though it's a crazy time period. Jenny, I hope you're doing well. It's so much fun to hear you and see you on Facebook. And Nathan, if you're still there, please tell everybody that I said hey. So guys, I'm going to sign off for now. Thanks so much for joining me, and see you and talk to you soon. Bye.